How you guys doing? In reference to people that know who I am and know who my parents are and family history, it's very important that people make YouTube videos in reference to who I am and who my biological parents are. Everybody, anybody, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people, because there's a lot of people, some dirty people in government that seem to keep getting it, they keep confusing it. My mother and father had numerous business names, okay? For protection reasons and for a category of types of companies. This is very important. Because, see, back in the day, they didn't have computers back in the 1800s, 1900s, and particulars of family history, of guidelines, of keeping things in certain categories of understanding. So, in reference to, my parents had numerous business names. My parents owned numerous properties. The Treasury knows all my mother and father and grandfather's names. Remembrance to my grandmothers and grandfathers and family tree information. So, back in the day, my parents had, numerous family names because I have to carry all the family names. Everybody knows that, which are on document somewhere. But, in reference to back in the day, they didn't have the computer systems or the phone lines like they do, or the computer systems and the internet back in the 1900s, early 1900s or whenever. So, it's very important that all my mother and father and grandfather's names, my mother and father and grandparents' names are all copyrighted. So everybody needs to know that too. And all the deeds are copyrighted. All the company names are copyrighted. All the land is copyrighted. So nobody can get away with stealing anything. But some people are trying to, obviously. I'm still sitting over here at the little house and haven't received nothing in the postal mail. So in reference to the information, in reference to my biological parents and biological grandparents and family history, it's documented. And people need to make YouTube videos. So someone might say, like one of my grandfather's names, will say, oh, this grandfather. And I'm like, well, what about this grandfather name? Or what about this grandfather's name? Or what about this grandfather's name? Well, and then, my grandfather's, like that might be two of my grandfathers, or my great-grandfather's names. So, in reference to the family tree, and, somebody say, well, how come your grandfather owned property over here? Your grandfather owned property over there? Well, my grandfather's built railroads, too. So understand that, in reference to them traveling from one city to the other city and having company names and family names and history and things like that. And then, it's important that people know that. But it's very important for a lot of people that know who I am and know who my biological parents are and grandparents to make YouTube videos, if you can. And it's very important so it doesn't get lost in history. So people don't keep playing this confusion game with their tricks and their people trying to steal my identity or my family history either. And people need to make YouTube videos and say, hey, why isn't he at his mother and father's mansions? Or why hasn't he gotten to a new mansion? Ask them, hey, politician, man, what's going on? What's the problem? That's what somebody'd say. I'm the owner of my mother and father's estates. This hostage situation should have never happened. I was not supposed to have gotten kidnapped from my mother and father's properties. My parents weren't supposed to get murdered by dirty government. Do you understand that? Everything that these people have done is illegal. Everything that they're trying to do is illegal. So somebody say, all different races and ethnicities of people say, hey, make a YouTube video, say, hey, why isn't he at his mother and father's mansions? That don't make sense. Sounds like somebody's playing tricks, don't it? When they make whatever type of comment. Or say something like, hey, why isn't he at his mother and father's office? In the companies, in the headquarters or something. Why isn't he at his mother and father's mansions? Are you people trying to steal his mother and father's mansions? You're blocking him from going home to his mother and father's mansions? Why is that? That's not right. My parents and grandparents built mansions too. And my mother and father and family history owned farmland in America and property in other countries too. So, you know, people need to say, hey, what's the problem here? What you trying to do? You trying to fool everybody, dirty government man? Trying to steal things that don't belong to you, government man? And that's what people need to do. These people are trying to play this confusion games, and they're trying to make Americans look like fools, and other races and religions. They're trying to fool everybody with their scams, whoever these people are. So people need to make YouTube videos and say, hey, isn't he the biological child of this such and such person? You know, in reference to my mother and father. And, of course, my parents had numerous names, had entertainment names that they performed under, directed movies under certain names, sang songs under certain names, played in sports under certain names. So look up the information. Or, you know, people make YouTube videos asking politicians to answer those questions. People to answer those questions of why these people kidnapped me from my mother and father's mansions. Who are these people claiming they're working for? Somebody in government? Somebody in another country? Who are these people working for that are blocking me from my mother and father's mansions? People need to ask those questions and make YouTube videos.